listening to the Astral Hour. I'm your host, Astral Meadow. Join me as we take a glimpse into the mysterious. Welcome, everyone. Today, I'm joined here with my friend Shanti Free. Shanti is an integrative wellness and transformative coach, an energy healer and teacher, intuitive counselor, and metaphysician. She specializes in many different movement-based healing modalities, such as chi-gong, ecstatic dance, and multiple styles of yoga and meditation. She has also trained in numerology, cosmobiology, Taoist shamanic practices, crystal light therapy, vibrational medicine, along with many other healing therapies. She guides and mentors individuals seeking radical personal transformation and awakening. That's quite a bit of stuff you specialize in. So how did you start all of this? Like, what's a little bit of your background? And
Well, yeah, I've had a lifetime on being able to explore and discover and experience all of this that has to do with natural healing. It's I grew up with it, actually. My mother had been practicing yoga for, I believe, 8 years when I was born. And so, and I grew up in a yoga institute, ashram-like. I was got to see a lot of different masters, different teachers, had all sorts of practices as a lifestyle.
Right.
Yoga is a lifestyle. And so, including, part of my upbringing, learning had to do with astrology, with, the new term is cosmobiology. It's a way of learning about self more.
Okay.
And then how to work with energies that are, definitely affecting us in so many different ways, and how to manage those. And that's where yoga came in.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you study your chart, like, is all of this sort of show up in it? Like, your interest in all of these things?
Yeah,
and,
actually.
Like, you were born into it, like...
Yeah, I know. Pluto is in my 8th house, and when you have Scorpio and Pluto, and especially planets in your 8th house, you'll definitely have interest in anything occult, metaphysical. We know that occult is just, things that, mysteries that have yet to be revealed. And
right,
then,
not occult. Occult. It's
right.
Two different words. I'm going to, like, always keep driving that in on this show. Like.
Yes. But yoga and anything metaphysics, astrology definitely shows there. Okay.
What types of yoga do you specialize in? I know there's lots of different limbs and...
Yeah, that's always, I grew up with my mother always telling me yoga is one. And yet, we have so many different ways to enjoy the practice, depending on our personality, actually. Right. There's actually 18 paths.
Okay.
Yoga meaning union, connection, integration. There's 8 different paths to get to that experience of unity or oneness, right? That oneness that we want to experience. And so it is usually 4 major paths are talked about or practiced or known, such as Hatha Yoga, which is the one that deals with the body. Then you have Bhakti Yoga, which is the yoga of devotion, yoga of the heart. You have Jnana Yoga, which is the going through the intellect, learning everything there is to learn to understand how things are interconnected.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you think it's good to try all the yogas, or is it good for some people to, like, really focus all their attention on one?
Well, again, depends on the personality, right?
Right.
So, I mean, when it comes to Hatha Yoga, yeah, we do have a lot of different styles. So, there are practices that, well, you can practice yoga in a hospital bed.
Right.
You can do yoga with heat. You can do yoga, that is very gentle, restorative.
Right.
So, there's so many, there's booty yoga, which is so fun, with the dancing
Yeah, I just
and
learned that when I was seeing Shakina. I went to
yeah.
the restroom after and they had a class and I was like, this is a yoga I've never seen before.
Yeah, so again, depending on your personality, I always encourage everyone to go and explore and see
Right.
what's the right fit. For that you can then, you learn what you need to learn and then you go to the next one and
Right.
get to explore.
Right. I've
There's
really
many.
enjoyed doing like yin yang, but in my mind I'm like, oh, this is called yin yang yoga. But then when Philip was talking about it, he was like, well, it has vinyasana in it, ashtanga in it. It's kind of like a good combination of this active and also like a relaxing. And I'm like, this is my yoga.
Yeah.
Like this is my
Yeah.
path right here. It's like
Yeah.
the good combination of both. So.
Yeah, most people that come to my classes, they end up saying, I feel calm yet energized.
Right. That's what we're going for. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because like
yeah.
I don't want to
It's
be
possible.
asleep. Yeah.
It's
Afterwards.
possible.
So
Yeah.
awesome. Let's see. Could you explain a little bit about what Qigong is and what a class would look like? And what are some of the benefits of that?
Yeah. Well, Qigong, which sometimes is also known as Qigong, Qi is and Qi are words that are referring to the life force.
Okay.
And Gong is working steadily with the life force, right? Working steadily with the energy that we've been giving and how to manage that energy. So we begin with managing our physical energy. And then when we're able to do that is what helps us to then manage our mental energy, our emotional energy. And as it goes, energy has so many different qualities. So we can feel high energy, low energy. We can feel really scattered energy or contracted. We feel that feeling like up in knots, right?
Right.
And so it's a way that we can, in a Qigong class, there's three main principles. First is purging energy, clearing, cleansing, releasing energy. So there are practices specifically for that. Then there are the practices that help to open up all the energy channels. And it's been said that we have 72,000 channels
Wow.
to open. So, so practices that then help to open those channels so that then the energy can circulate,
Right.
and go, because sometimes we have a whole lot of energy in our brain. Too much thinking, right? And so how to then allow those channels to then distribute that energy to every part of the body so that it can function more optimally, right?
Right.
Have greater health, greater stamina. We need energy for everything.
Right.
Everything requires energy. And then the part of tonifying or strengthening all the various parts of all the systems in our body. But there's the spiritual energies as well, which is then as you do 100-day gongs, the practice of that you do steadily, right?
Okay.
You can then have experiences where you go through the veil. You, sometimes in our human experience when, our consciousness is not quite awakened yet, that whole awakening of consciousness, we cannot perceive certain things in life. And so through the practices of Qigong, you can actually go through that and allow a different experience of perception of reality, a different state of, it's almost like an altered state of being.
Right.
Yeah, so you get to, different, experience different states of consciousness, which is the ultimate purpose. Well, ultimate purpose is actually liberation. As it is said in yoga. In Qigong, they talk a lot about longevity, how to live long and, be able to accomplish the mission that we're here to accomplish, whatever it is that we set ourselves to do, to have the energy to do it. Right. But especially that part of managing, right? Managing our energy is so difficult to manage our mental and emotional energy. And that's the part I love about yoga and anything physical, anything that requires movement, because you're utilizing, you're grounding it,
Right.
are able to grab a hold of the body. And so then, because there is no separation between
Right.
body, mind, and spirit, then you're able to work with all of it, right? To have this integration of all aspects of yourself.
Right, like really bringing it all into harmony and it's like working together.
Yes, harmony is a big key
Yeah,
word.
I've done quite a few qigong videos, but they don't really explain anything. But I've had like really cool experiences during it, and I'm like, I
Yeah.
want to figure out what I'm feeling when I'm doing this, but like I really do feel like this energy in my hands, like with certain
Yes.
postures, and then you like push it out, and I don't know what it is about some of the positions, but I am having experience. I feel like the energy's coming in and I am like literally moving it around.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm really into this show, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and they like move elements and stuff. So there's like water benders and fire benders.
Right.
But like all of the postures are a lot like that. So the whole time I'm doing it, probably because I've watched way too much of the show, I'm like imagining like fire coming out or air or whatever. So I feel like in a way I like somehow add the elements in.
Absolutely. The elements within us are, when we're working with fire, is certainly, that uh, sometimes this all that anger or,
Right.
energy that certainly feels like fire. And then, we can have all of them out of balance when we are, for example, water, when we're feeling too teary or, and sometimes we feel kind of like not enough emotion, kind of almost numb, right?
Right.
And so the water element, understanding that the air element, especially working with breath and using breath, because Qigong has been described as slow with breath. So in the breath is where we're able to have more clarity of our mind, being able to work with that mental energy. And then earth. Sometimes we feel too lethargic or too not able to move.
Right.
And some of the things that we can do to get the energy moving is moving the breath,
Right.
right? And sometimes we don't feel grounded enough, or just all these things. And so
Right.
harmony,
Yeah.
bringing all of the elements into balance and harmony is the purpose. One of the purposes, yeah.
So I've been looking a lot at my astrology chart, and then now my friends randomly send me their astrology charts.
Yeah.
And when I look at mine, I actually have almost the perfect balance of elements. And I think that might be some kind of blessing or something. But I look
Absolutely.
at some of my friends, and like they'll have a lot of earth, and they'll also kind of struggle with like getting things moving or stuff that like when they talk to me they're like, gosh, I wish I was like you. But is there like, so if you had a lot of earth, like is there practices that kind of person would do to bring other elements in? So
Yeah, that would be exactly, and that's one of the things with astrology, or the new term cosmobiology, to
Right.
get to learn self more and what energies do we come into this planet with, right?
Right.
What is our inventory, and what's lacking, what's missing. So it's
Right.
kind of what you're saying, and so when certainly when we're lacking some of the elements is, just drinking more water, especially for somebody who has too much earth,
Right.
right? It can get dried up if it doesn't have the water, right?
Right.
Yeah. So to allow that a little bit more fluidity is to incorporate the element of water. So just even drinking more water, being around water, immersing yourself in water, that kind of thing. For air elements, actually, when there's too much air, is to learn, definitely doing breath work.
Okay.
Yeah, because, it's learning how to manage that, a lot of air,
Right, because
right?
it's around us all the time, but like to actually
Yeah.
control it and like
Yes.
use it and not just live in it, but
Yeah, because
direct it.
is the one that rules the mind. And so there's a saying in yoga, breath is the master of the mind, and the mind is the master of our emotions. So learning how to master our breath, how to work with it, how to be
Right.
in charge of the breath,
Right.
Because every emotion that we're experiencing, there's a particular breathing pattern that happens, right?
Right.
When we're anxious, we breathe a certain way versus when we're angry or when we're sad or depressed, we're breathing a certain way, right? So there's various breathing techniques that can help with the different emotions and how to balance them. And so, one of the things for those of you who are listening, and thank you, by the way, I imagine that if you're attracted to this is because there's something here for you. So keep, stay tuned in. But I wanted to leave some things practical. So since we're talking about the breath and the management of the elements within us, and the emotions, especially in the mind, breath work is something that anybody can do, right? It sounds so simple, and as we know, it's not necessarily easy. I find that it requires coaching, and that's part of, that's one of my roles is to, coach people, because there's a lot of different obstacles that get in the way. And I hear a lot about, I tried that breath work, and it didn't work, right? And that's because, it's still... What happens is that, most of us are truly ADD. We have to train our attention, and we have to stay with it long enough in order for it to work. And so in one of the practices of Qigong, and I really appreciate some of the things that come from both yoga and Qigong and all the other modalities that fall under the energy medicine.
Right.
But it's healing sounds.
Okay.
Healing sounds. It's something that we have, there's 6 particular healing sounds that have been passed on since 2500 BC. And they continue to get passed on because they do work still, right? But one of the sounds is the simple sound of ah. That's just, is something that is interesting, is considered to be the sound of the heart. So whenever we need to calm our heart or awaken our heart or open our hearts or, allow that sense of your heart just being able to release anything that's in there that is causing disturbance, right? So just sounding a nice, long, extended ah. So I like to just, go ahead and demonstrate and perhaps, feel free to naturally join in. But you take a nice slow inhale through the nose always, because that's how we absorb energy in the body. There's 2 channels right behind the nostrils that the life particles, that which we call chi or prana, get absorbed through those channels. And so through the nose, you inhale into your diaphragm, lowering the diaphragm, lower lungs. And so then allowing that slow inhale. And you would keep going, but just allowing that nice, long, extended exhalation. And it's almost sometimes you feel like going, ah!
Right.
And somebody once told me it's like a quiet scream.
Right.
But it's just allowing, the heart needs to definitely. So I say when we are expressing from our heart, we go, ah.
Right.
Right? It's a natural sound of ah. So the ah sound really helps our heart for sure. And so if you practice it, do it for six breaths.
Okay.
And then do that. Another one is the sound of the wind. The sound of the wind is actually utilized for helping to release worry.
Okay.
And so in that one, it's just, imagining the sound of the wind through the desert, perhaps, and, just allowing this nice, again, inhale through the nose and then and doing that about 6 times as well. Yeah. There's other sounds, such as shu. Shu is one that is used for cleansing the liver and releasing and helping to manage the energy of anger. And for that is also the antidotes. What is the medicine, right? That one needs to, we talk in terms of cultivation, because we're always cultivating something, right? There's many things that we need to give energy to and nurture and attend to. And so in these practices is, well, the Dalai Lama said that one of the antidotes to anger is compassion, right? And the cultivation of loving kindness and forgiveness.
Right.
That's really big and healing. In order for us to heal, we need to learn how to forgive,
Right.
Especially ourselves. But in any case, when it comes to anger, shu is the sound with breath. So that would go like, and you do that about 6 times. And sometimes you have to do it, you stop at the 6th breath and then you check in.
Okay.
And if you need to do it again, you do it again. But there are movements with these sounds as well that can help to open those particular channels for the liver, or for the lungs, for the kidneys. There's the 5 major organs that are processing all these emotions. And so the sound creates vibration, it creates this releasing and clearing. It allows for the exhalations to be longer than the inhalations. And in the inhalations, eventually, you'll notice that you take deeper breaths. So it helps with that as well. And so sounding long and extended exhalations helps you to just have that sense of your whole body sighing.
Right.
Right? And it feels wonderful. So
Yeah. Are there any sound tools that you use in your practice? We do the voice. And
right. Yes. Yes, I do have several beautiful. Now they're having the technology where we have these beautiful crystal bowls that have, that they're tuned to a particular frequency. And so, and each of the frequencies, again, the energy medicine. And I like to say that it is when we're using vibration, frequency, sound healing, is so that our bodies, every cell and atom in our body begins to resonate to that particular frequency, right? And so restoring ourselves to that harmonious frequency,
Right.
that even and steady and harmonious frequencies. So, there are beautiful tools that I use. And when we use the toning our own sound, naturally, you can do that anywhere. You don't have to invest because some of them can definitely be a little bit expensive, but worth it for sure. Also working with the vibration bed that Shakina helped to design, and I had experienced the listening and feeling the sound vibration frequency throughout the whole body. So we have this bed that we have the biomagnetic field, which is the negative field, that once you experience that is the one that helps to deeply, deeply relax the nervous system, among reducing inflammation and increasing circulation. But then, there's the vibration that gets to be experienced throughout the whole body, as well as the headphones that you can then be listening to the music. So, it is amazing. It's one of my favorite things, and very effective. That's the thing that, nowadays that we have this technology, it's so much easier and faster to get ourselves back into a state of harmony and balance and equilibrium and recalibrate ourselves than we used to be able to, right? And so it's really grateful for what we have available, and that's one of the things that I is very much appreciated by all the clients that come.
Right.
They can feel a quick difference.
Yeah, I had my experience on the bed thing, and I really feel like it is like still working with me. Like whatever we did, I've felt like different since then, and I don't feel like I've actually like backtracked. You know what I mean? I feel like it still continues to work inside
Yeah.
me. I don't know how. I don't know how to
Yeah.
explain it. But
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely, any time that we do any meditation practices, breath work, anytime we're working with our nervous system, we're literally creating new brain pathways.
Right. That's
Yeah.
like neuroplasticity.
Yes, neuroplasticity. And so we don't lose that. It just keeps, is cumulative. So it's great.
Yeah.
Again, bringing ourselves to that harmonious frequency because, well, and I like to bring up the topic of trapped emotions. Yeah, because, there are definitely energy frequencies that are very much alive in our body. There's a book that is titled Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. And we know that we've been trapping emotions perhaps since childbirth, even maybe in the womb.
Right.
And so it's is one of the main is where I'm focusing more now is in helping and releasing those trapped emotions. And sound definitely is one of the ways.
Right.
But it is that part of bringing this into our conscious awareness of energies that are living within us that are creating disturbance and can eventually also, when they stay chronic and we're not able to, or don't know how, what do we do with this trapped energy here, this trapped emotions, right? We're not even conscious that they're there.
Right.
Disease is that composite word that means dis is lack of, ease, lack of ease. So a lot of this work is about restoring ourselves back to a state of ease in our physical, our mental, our emotional, our spiritual beings, right? And so there's a process called emotion code.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the tools that I utilize because it's utilizing energy medicine and kinesiology testing so that it can easily, we can discover which emotion is ready to be released.
Right.
That's the first question because sometimes we have emotions that we're not ready to release. So the first one is, is there an emotion that is ready to be released? My granddaughter actually, it was a great confirmation of, I had this, did this with her. And she asked me to do it again. She says, I've gone to a therapist for 3 to 4 weeks, before I can discover, what we were able to find out in just a few moments.
Right.
Yeah. So in any case, there is, because it's energy, there are, we work with magnetic field tool that can then help to erase, clear, that trapped emotion. Naturally, the conversations necessary to and the coaching to help in not having it be trapped again, right? Because then what can we do to prevent or manage, when things come up so that we're not trapping that emotion. Ideally, we feel the emotion and we're done with it.
Right.
But generally, we're not necessarily in society that supports, for us to go through that range of emotions, right? So we tend to trap them naturally. But, we have ways that we can release those unconscious trapped emotions.
Right. I found that I don't always know what's trapped, and I'm not always aware of where it's at in my body. But when I do the thing, whatever it is, to release it, I feel different. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize how heavy that was, so I might have never been aware of it, but the moment, and it's different healing modalities sort of help me in different ways, but I'll walk out and I'm like, I don't think I'm ever going to have to face it the same way again, because I'm never going to allow that back in, it's never going to be a part of my identity again, even though I might, stumble on it, but it's not going to define me ever again. you know, so it's a beautiful thing to release these.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, that part of truly feeling in charge
Right.
of our own, well, ourselves, feeling in charge of what happens, the experience that we're having, the reality that we're creating, right? Is that part of working with these energies, managing, and, learning the different ways. And you are right. There are so many different ways that we can release these trapped emotions. And that's why I have dedicated my life,
Right.
to learning all the various ways, so that when a client comes in, it depends on, everyone is so unique,
Right, they're at a
that
different
I can
point.
draw from various different modalities and seeing what would help best, to, again, to restore a sense of ease.
Right.
Right, to experience a sense of equilibrium, to return to feeling our most natural selves.
Right.
As recently one client said, I feel like myself again.
Right. Right. You don't realize how far you get off of the path until you come back on and you're like, wow, there I am.
Yeah, yeah. It is, when we're stressed, we can't feel our natural selves.
Right.
And so one of the main things is, and I've come upon a lot of people. I've been doing this now for 27 years, and, and well, I grew up with it, but, here in Knoxville and other places, it's been always I don't know how to relax.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of the main things.
Right.
What do I do with this anxiety, right?
Because we're just not taught in our culture. Like your culture was a little different. Your parents were yogis. You always sort of had this basis from a young age, but here, there is nothing. They don't, like go outside. That's I don't know what they tell you, but like no one ever taught me to breathe. Right. No one ever taught me, about the stillness. Although I would recognize when I would do these things that it would make me feel better. No one was like, this is what's happening. When you're in timeout and you're reflecting, I feel like if it was just taught at a younger age, that we wouldn't have all these wounded adults, because they would have been working on things as they grew up, so it wouldn't be so stored.
Yeah, no, and right now I have the opportunity to work with children, and it's just been great, because yes, the earlier that we start, the better. But at any age, we can start.
Right.
It's important to start, right? And I want to, if I may share there's the 4 R's is what I came up with, in helping with, especially when there's stress or anxiety. And, it's the first R is to recognize the stressful thought. Right? It's important that whatever it is that we are feeling, it started with a thought, was the driving thought, right? So recognizing that stressful thought. And the second R would be to redirect your attention, right? Is to, I use other things as well as, the asking the 4 questions. There's 4 questions that we must ask ourselves when we're having a thought that seems to be just so, grabbing a hold and just can't seem to shake it off. And certainly is that the important question, is it true what I'm thinking? Because sometimes, we believe things that are not even true. But redirecting our attention to present moment, to redirecting our attention to our breath. Right? So that then the third R would be to regulate our breath. And what I like to leave, for those listening is, that exhaling twice as long as you inhale, would be the anti-anxiety breath. There's also something that Dr. Andrew Weil has been making really popular, which is the 4-7-8 breath pattern, which is inhaling to 4, holding for 7, exhaling to 8. And there's a little bit of coaching that is required in that. But, the exhaling twice as long as you inhale. And what's important is not the depth of the breath, it's more the rhythm of the breath.
Okay.
So that if you inhale to 2, you exhale to 4. But for those of you who can inhale deeper, then you exhale twice as long as that, because you are then able to turn on your parasympathetic nervous system. It is the one that is responsible for the exhalation. So when you're exhaling longer than you inhale, not only are you releasing and letting go of the stressful thought, the fearful thought, and sounding, the breath works better as well. But then you're also engaging that parasympathetic nervous system that is the one that's helping you to, that will then, make sure that you are able to get into that relaxed state.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then the 4R would be to repeat the process whenever necessary.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
It's always good to have those little things. I don't know, that you can remember, because when I have anxiety I feel like I just forget everything. Like my husband will be like, you need tea, or, and I'm like, it's like, well, I can't think properly. So having like the 4 R's, like that's a good way to bring me back.
And doing something physical is always, important as well, that kind of brings you back to, feeling yourself again, and just being able to just move some of that energy, because anxiety is such a very high sort of the heart is beating fast, and understanding that your sympathetic nervous system is the one engaged.
Right.
And what they have discovered or learned is that by turning on your parasympathetic is the way that you can then turn off your sympathetic response, that stress response.
Right. I feel like movement helps me too. Like it's sort of a maintenance thing. So instead of trapping things, if I can acknowledge it and then move, then it doesn't get stuck on me. So it's like, okay, and it's gone, So I think movement's important, and I think sometimes we forget that part of like yoga and stuff. We're like, oh, it's exercise, and it is, it's good to exercise, but there's all these other components to yoga that it's really to keep us in this state, so it's not just about getting in shape or being more flexible, right? But there's like these deeper purposes.
I would say, just jump up and down, or dance, shake just allow yourself. Shaking is one of the practices of qigong, and so just moving all that energy out. But there's also another tool that I work with is emotional freedom technique. And so that's a tapping method. And so sometimes when you're not able to move, you can gently tap different points that are connected to those energy channels where the energy may be trapped.
Right.
And so then it gets the energy moving, unstuck, right? And so there's in the first step in emotional freedom is about sending a message, is the way that I think of it, as you're tapping a certain point, is activating that part of your brain, the hippocampus, that then releases the hormones that help you to feel more at ease, safer, to feel what you're feeling.
Okay.
And that part of, accepting what we're feeling in the moment. Sometimes the stress, if you have noticed, is that, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this, or, why am I feeling that?
Like
we start judging and we start, doing all this. And that's, is something that one of the main messages that I bring to the middle path, which is, where one of the places that I go and teach emotional freedom technique. And it is that love and acceptance of self.
Right.
Love and acceptance of even, the part of accepting that, I'm feeling anger, I'm feeling afraid, I'm feeling, whatever it is that we're feeling, to start with that level of acceptance.
Right.
That won't spiral down into, I shouldn't be feeling this, or, all the judgments that we put upon whatever it is that we're feeling. And then being able to manage, to work with that energy,
right,
much better. And again, working with what is known as the virtues, the cultivation of the virtues, which is compassion and acceptance, and naturally love, and those things that need to be present in order for us to be able to truly heal.
Right. I feel like sometimes in our culture, like it's almost like we're scared of like taking care of ourselves. Like, oh, like I'm spending too much time on me, or so, like we take care of our kids and our job, and like we come last. And then like, we're like, am I being selfish? Like, I ask myself this sometimes because I'm like, hey, I'm going to go upstairs and do yoga, guys. You know, I'm like, I'm abandoning my family. But I'm not, you know, because if
Yeah.
I'm crazy and spiraled out, like, I'm not great to be around, you know, so I'm doing this. But then when I feel, you know, back to my true self again, and I go, and then I'm like, I'm fun and I'm relaxed and I'm happy. So it's not selfish, you
Not
know,
at
but we're like
all.
almost trained that way, especially as mothers. Like,
Yes,
God
yes.
forbid, you know, we stop and, you know, do something for ourselves. So,
Yeah, it's you know, the principle and the philosophy of the great wisdom teachings is that everything is interconnected, right?
right,
There's no separation. You know, there's the illusion of separateness, and the truth is that whatever we do for ourselves, we're doing for the greater good of all.
right,
And what we do for others, we're doing it for ourselves as well,
right.
right? So no separation there.
That's cool. That's cool. Could you go over some of the other types of energy healing you do? Like, I know you guys teach Reiki, right? And
Yes, yes, yes. It's one of my most favorite ways to spend the weekend for
yeah.
sure. So it's uh, Reiki, a beautiful modality that is so needed for again that learning how to heal self, right? How to tap into these energies that are available to us, right? You know, they're this beautiful, loving energy
Uh huh.
that is sustaining life, and that we can learn how to access, how to connect to it, how to work with it, so that then we can heal self. That's the first step in level one.
Uh huh.
And then level two, there's more tools that you can then have to how to be able to create a shield
Okay.
around you, how to ground yourself, how to send energy, healing energy long
Uh
distance,
huh.
how to work with the emotional and mental healing. And so, yes, we have the teachings that 4 levels of Reiki. So we're getting ready to do one in January for level 3 and 4, which is, you know, how to teach Reiki, how to is the Reiki master levels. So
Okay.
yeah, they're all available.
Yeah. Okay. So I was gonna ask you a little bit about numerology just because I really like it and I don't know that much about it, but every time I like do look into it, I get really excited by it. Like when I look up a number, like 555 has been coming up, and I like look it up, and I'm like, oh my god, you know, there's all these like epiphanies with numbers. But would you add numerology into your cosmobiology? Is that like part of?
Well, the way that I like to use it is that, you know, when a client comes, I like to get to know them a little bit, and from the perspective of, you know, what is it that energetically it does, because numbers, they are a vibration, right? You know, you know, certainly we have each of the numbers. When you think of two, you know,
Right.
you think of, you know, the partnership, and, you know, that part of two energies coming together, right? And then each of the numbers have their own quality. And so looking at someone, learning about their personality,
Uh huh.
right? And then learning about what their life path
Uh
is,
huh.
which is having to do with the life lesson. And so then, you know, I can give better guidance, right? I get to know a little bit more specific about the individuals, so that then, you know, guiding through what is their life lesson?
Right.
What is their,
So
you know, here to learn?
right. So is the life path number, is that found out by adding the birthday
Yes.
together? Okay.
So you have your day and month.
Mm-hmm.
When you add those two, you get your personality number.
Okay.
When then you add to that the year that you were born.
Uh huh.
And all of this is reduced to a single digit
Right.
number
Right.
because it's a 9 year cycle,
Okay.
right? So then that's when you get to know your life path, which is again what you're here to learn in this
Right.
lifetime, the experiences and the things necessary for your personal growth. And then
Okay.
there's the personal year. So personal year is you take your day and month, and then you add the year of the last birthday,
Okay.
because it goes from birthday to birth date. And so
Oh.
if you were to have, for example, a one uh, personal year,
Uh-huh.
that means that it's important for you to make sure that you make yourself the priority, actually. You know, you give yourself the attention. You make sure that you take care of, see, learn what is it that you need? What is it that you want? That what is it that you, and it's also about new beginnings.
Right.
And starting something new is the year that generally we're starting anew. And, but also the experience of oneness,
Right.
you know, experiencing unity with yourself. Right? And that's the part of, you know, the priority is allowing that time of meditation to really connect to who you are and what
Right.
you need and what you like and what's, you know, what is it that you need to begin to
Right.
a new I mean, it could be a new hairstyle. It could be a
Right.
new routine that helps to improve, you know, health and well-being and your joy.
Right.
Yeah.
It almost seems like you could kind of like place it on top of like the houses, like because the first house is self, and so like, but instead of like 9, you would have 12. So like 12 would be like completion. Would 9 also be sort of like
Yeah, that
the
would,
end of a phase, or
yes, 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 yes. So there's some similarities and some differences.
okay,
You know, it's but yes, 9 would be the year of completion, the closing chapter. You know, having closure, making sure that. Whatever you need to learn and whatever you need to forgive. That
right,
is the year definitely to work on forgiveness so that you can start new. You
right,
can start fresh in the 1 year cycle.
right,
Yeah, and yeah, relation to astrology. Well, it works with your birth date, and you
right,
know,
right,
it is still working with, you know, definitely energetics. But in astrology, it is more with the cosmic energies. You know, it's
okay,
like understanding yourself as, you know, a cosmic
right, in
being.
relation to the
Cosmic
cosmos
being.
versus being just
A
self-centered.
lot of people, you know, one of the things that, how does it work?
Uh-huh.
Right? I always, part of, I have a very scientific mind because my rising sign is in Aquarius. And so
That me
I
too.
love to
And we have the same
learn.
midhavens.
Yes. So,
That's
you
it.
know, love to learn. That's for
Yes,
sure.
me
That's, you
too.
know, continue to learn and continue to grow. But how it works is through the chakra system. Okay. So the energy centers that we know as chakras, they have through the law of correspondence. The law of correspondence is that vibrationally, you know, through the frequencies that each of the planets is vibrating at, is a corresponding chakra. So we know that in the chakra system, you have a corresponding color. A lot of people know about, you know, the rainbow color that is usually given to, and that's, you know, for exoteric astrology. There's also other colors involved that are associated with each of the chakras, but there's a corresponding mineral, a gem, a crystal, corresponding animal, corresponding, you know, plants and fruits and what have you, corresponding musical note. But then there's the planets that are also, you know, so whenever you know, you have, and just to kind of go through it quickly, you know, in the root chakra is ruled by Saturn.
Okay.
And then you have, in the second one is Jupiter, the third one is Mars, and then the Sun as well, Venus at the heart, and Mercury in the throat chakra. And then you
Okay.
have the pituitary, you have the outer planets such as Pluto ruling the pineal
Okay.
gland. Um, And then the moon is the third eye, right? Your sixth chakra. So whenever, what happens with the planets is that they can either be in harmony with one another, or sometimes, there's definitely tension and, this disharmonious frequencies, right? They're kind of jolting a little bit, which is what, is what causes us to be able to grow.
Uh-huh.
Right? It's when we are just uncomfortable and,
Right,
we need
yeah.
to do something. We need to come up with, be creative.
Exactly.
Right? And then that's when the opportunity to grow. But, when planets are in harmony, then, things are working well. But then, you have to following, what's happening with the moon. Is
Right.
the moon in a particular, I know that, we follow often looking at, the moon, and it's the easiest, sometimes to definitely look into. It rules our emotions, right? And so our feelings. And so our feelings will, if the moon is in Aquarius, our feelings are going to move toward, learning things,
Right.
and I want to learn about this and that. So we become really intellectual, right? And almost not able to touch our feelings because we're, so much focused in the intellect.
Right.
And then when the moon can be in its home, which is Cancer, and then, we can have very nurturing feelings. We want to be at home and we want to be with family, right? And so our feelings would move toward that. But then when it's exile, when it's away from its home, it's like all the way to the opposite side, which is Capricorn.
Yeah, that's where my moon is. It's like way far away from.
Yeah, so sometimes it may be difficult. Do you find that it's difficult to get in touch with what you're feeling?
I think I can get in touch with it, but I tend to have a hard time expressing it to others. But like I do feel it very deeply.
Okay.
But like when I try to explain it, like to my husband, I feel like it takes him a while to even process, like what I'm feeling, because I can't remember where his moon is, but he's, just different with his emotions, where mine kind of, it's like really like inward, I don't like, if I get like angry, I don't like express it outward.
Internalize.
It goes in. And so it's like the opposite for him. So, it's hard for him to know how I'm feeling, so I have to spend quite a bit of time putting it into words, which is really hard sometimes.
Right. And that would be the tendency, right? With the moon being exile, it's just sort of that, the feelings are a little bit obscure. Like, even I imagine that, you've had to go through a process of what is it that I'm feeling?
Yes.
And then, being able to express that.
Right. I've kind of spent my whole life trying to figure out how to articulate what's going on internally to my world.
Yes.
But I don't know, it's been nice because I really have put the work in, so, here I am, have a podcast, like I'm expressing it now, like I'm sharing my growth with people because I've had to spend a lot of time. I have a Capricorn stellium in the 12th house. So I am like, I've spent a lot of time in this like unconscious and all this, but like now I'm like finally ready, to share. I also have like a lot of Aquarius energy in the first house. So I feel like that helps me with the external world, where my other stellium is like internal. So it's kind of a cool energy, but it's intense.
And that's where the all the various tools, whether it's through shamanic work or yoga or reiki and qigong, in which I find that having been exploring all of them, they all base their knowledge on the energy systems of what we know as the chakras or the dantians, and when we have all these different planets that are again, when we study astrology, is what is the I used the word before, the things that we come with, our inventory, yes, and the things that we may be lacking, so that then we can work with that and help to cultivate and nurture the things that we need to, and where we have too much energy in one area, how to then bring all that energy into cultivating and strengthening and building those places and within us that needing some strengthening and building,
and just like nourishing them, and just allowing, like I had this astrologer look at my chart, and based on the 12th house placements, he was like, so you really need to spend a lot of time, doing spiritual stuff, meditating, like that's gonna nurture you. And and I always have this drive to want to do those things. I'm like, I need space. That's
Yes.
probably like the one thing I ask the universe for the most. It's like, I just need space. Like, I wish I could pause time and go in, but it's so hard to make time as a mother, and I'm homeschooling. I'm like all over the place. But I can recognize, like, if I just took that moment, because that's what my soul needs. It needs quiet, still time to reflect. So,
Yeah. Because of that, in the last 27 years, it's just like, okay, especially lately though, looking at the 1 minute solutions, 1 minute practices
right.
that can really help in recalibrating, coming back to center, things that can help to clear and release.
Right,
And
as
so
we
I've
go.
been developing that, and that's one of the things that I've been offering. I had one client who we developed every hour in the hour to take just 1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah, to do something. And
Right.
so we come up with all these different things that,
Right.
can be done that can make a world of difference.
Right. And once you learn it, you kind of can just
Yeah,
carry it with you
yeah,
forever. So it's worth the
exactly.
investment, because now and it's like,
Exactly.
it's yours,
Yeah.
and then you could go off and teach if you needed to like teach
Yes.
someone else that. So,
Yes, yes, please pass it on. Yes,
yes,
we
yes.
need more people that, it's a revolution that's happening,
Mm-hmm.
but in a way that is subversive, or, just as we each individually, are able to access peace. One of the mottos that I have is learn how to shift your energy, your vibration, so that you can access
Right.
peace. Because we all want to have peace. And,
Right.
we certainly can have all these different wars going on,
Uh-huh.
and until, we are able to develop and access this peace within us,
Right.
it's not possible. We have an internal war going on.
Right.
um, what brings us into anxiety and depression, is that internal mental,
Right.
the deprecation and the self-hate, and
Mm-hmm.
the all the things that bring us into a state where we feel so dissonant,
Uh-huh.
right? We've sort of, like, I always, like, that feeling internally, that, and restoring that back into a
Right.
state of harmony, bringing our frequency to that steady
Mm-hmm.
vibration, and so that we can access peace,
Right.
because it is by relaxing the body,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where, the physical practices, right?
Right.
Which then can help to relax the mind. But sometimes, you see people doing yoga, and, they're listening to all this different,
Yeah.
music and words, and,
Dubstep and stuff.
doing, and your mind is going. And so sometimes, if the mind is too um, uh, active, it's important to do a strong physical practice
Mm-hmm.
to get anchor the mind in the body.
Right.
That's where the difficult practices of physical practices can help, for
Right.
sure. But it is that part of calming the mind, relaxing, stabilizing the mind, so that then we can stabilize the emotions.
Right.
Once we are able to do that, then peace is something that naturally, effortlessly, you get to experience it.
Right. And
That's the part of accessing.
right. I feel like when each of us is at peace, and I think we kind of talked about it earlier, it shifts our environment, and there was this saying, and I have no clue where I heard it from, but like, if you want to change the world, like, go clean your closet, like,
Right.
start at home, like, start
Yes.
within yourself.
Oh,
And then
absolutely.
when you're at peace and you're out in the world and people are like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never seen this. And so, like, you give this example, and this is the whole, like, Christ thing, right? Is like to live by example, and people look at you and they're like, I never knew, that there really were peaceful people. So then they start working on themselves. And then, it's like this ripple effect. So if you really want to change the world, you have
Yes.
to start with yourself. Like
Yes.
if you look out at the world and all you see is chaos and that you can't see a single good thing, then maybe there's chaos inside.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like the call to action, like everybody, like try to cultivate that peace within, and then
Yeah.
it radiates out.
Something that it seems, especially when the mind is the one that gets in the way,
Yes.
right? We have all this different conditioned thoughts. We're not good enough. We'll never,
Right.
do anything. All the negative messagings that we received in childhood, and it's and luckily, my parents were very supportive of,
Right.
you're connected to the universe and you have all this potential and ability,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And the part where it's really important that realization that peace is something that is our essence self.
Right.
Is what makes up who we are at our core.
Right.
And it is inextinguishable. It is something that, it cannot be tainted. What happens is that our mind and our emotions get in the way.
Right.
And so that's why the breath is the master of the mind,
Yes.
and the mind is the master of our emotions. And so when we stabilize the mind and we stabilize our emotions, then peace, which is our natural, when we talk about being our true selves, right? It is being our most peaceful selves.
Right.
How do we know that? One question that I pose is, how do you know you're growing spiritually? It's how peaceful you are.
Right.
How you are able to maintain more moments of peace.
Right.
Because that's what, definitely is having more moments of peace.
Right.
Is, in the beginning, just having one moment.
Right. Which some people
And
might
that
have
you
been
can
years.
access it,
Yeah.
then you continue to do what it takes.
Right.
Which is removing what gets in the way of peace.
Right.
Removing the obstacles to, being at ease in your own mind, right? Which is the thoughts that we need to question those thoughts.
Right.
Are, what I'm thinking even true?
Right. Is this real, or am I
Yeah,
just
true? Is it true? Is it
spiraling out right
absolutely
now?
true? And how would you feel without that thought?
Right.
Who would you be without that thought? And is that thought bringing you peace?
Yeah. This is so
Right.
beautiful. I love it. I love all of the stuff that you've shared with us
Thank
today.
you.
And
Thank you.
we're kind of coming towards the end.
Yes.
But could you share with the audience sort of how they can contact you or keep up with little events that you guys put on? Or?
Yeah. Well, and if you're listening, actually, we're having a goddess
Oh.
gathering on the 26th of October.
Okay.
Yes, there's a grid that definitely there are those organizing a whole worldwide grid where the divine feminine, to establish it more. We need more compassion
Right.
in our world, and it's so important to develop that. But it's how to reach me. Well, there's my website, which is shantifree.com. And then also my phone number is 865-621-5301, 621-5301. And I'm located in the heart of Knoxville in West Hills area.
Okay.
Yeah, feel free to text me or call me, and just that's the exciting. I certainly have some Reiki classes coming up with the goddess.
Okay.
Having some groups also, satsang, which is seekers of truth, or a community, that is looking to discover, what we call truth, the truth that sets us free. We're gathering on Tuesday nights as well at 6:30. So
Okay.
yeah, there's.
Awesome.
But anyway, thank
There's
you
so
for
much
having me.
going
Thank you
on.
for those of you who are listening.
Yes, thank you for joining us. And thank you all for tuning in. Join us next week on the Astral Hour. Talk to you soon.